Hello, welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I'm Renee. I'm the host of this podcast. Happy to be here today. I've been sick for a couple weeks, and in fact, right after I made my last recording, and that also often involves how I'm talking, my breathing, my voice. So my voice will be a little raspy today. It already is a little bit on its own, a little low, deeper voice, which I never realized until somebody told me that. Have you ever even thought about your voice? Because when I was younger, we didn't have phones and things. We had tape recorders and you could record your voice. And I remember people talking about thinking like, do I really sound like that? Is my voice that whiny or like nasally or something? And that's all I ever thought about. I mean, not all I ever thought about, but that's what I thought about my voice. And then maybe 15 years ago or somebody said something because well, okay, just giving some things up about myself, but I used to do exercise videos all the time. And I've probably mentioned it before. And I used to go to a forum called Video Fitness Forum, and we would talk to each other all the time and stuff. And and then we do meetups, like, oh, you want to meet up in the city and everybody go out to dinner, everyone who's on video fitness together, and we get together and talk about what workouts we did, which was super fun. And one of the women, I met her on video fitness and we wrote together on a check-in. But when I actually talked to her on the phone, because I stayed at her house, which I'm thinking I must have met her before I stayed at her house. So, yeah, I'm telling you, I'm giving some things up about myself. But anyway, I remember her saying, "Wow, your voice is a lot deeper than I thought," because she only knew me from writing on the internet. And I thought, I have a deep voice, and now I listen and I think, oh, it kind of is. But I don't know if you have somebody tell you something sometime and you think, I didn't even realize that about myself. Do other people recognize that? Like, do they say that? I just talk. Anyway, hello. Feeling better. And I want to talk about, well, I have like three different topics, but I'm just going to talk about one today. I want to talk about friction and what makes it harder for us to get something done. And we could talk about that forever because we probably have a lot of things that make it hard for us to get things done. But when I was trying to set up in here, I thought one piece of friction to getting anything done is how many steps it takes to get it done. So when I first started podcasting, I didn't have as many chargers for my computer or all the right little plug-in things to be able to have the microphone or the webcam or whatever plugged into my computer. And if I didn't have duplicates or triples, if I needed more, I'd have to go into the room and find what I needed and bring it in here and set it up, although it wasn't in this room. I used to make my podcasts upstairs when I wasn't doing video. So that's another piece of friction is adding the video. That gives me more things to think about or set up. But if I were to go into a podcast recording studio, I don't know if they call them studios, but there are places that are all set up for podcasting that you can rent the space or they hire you to do it or whatever. They have the technicians. You walk in and do it. Your friction might be getting out of the house and traffic, but once you step in there, you don't have anything that's stopping you from just starting to talk because somebody's already set it up for you. And so I've tried to minimize all those things. I even used to drag, I don't know, it was like 50-foot Ethernet cable through the house, up the stairs, and into this room because I was told that it was better to have better speed on your computer, and so I was doing that for a long time, and that was a huge deterrent, is to, pull that out from behind the couch, bring it down here, do it, and, all the little things that could happen in the meantime, seeing something that needs to be done or talking to somebody or whatever, getting it plugged in, and all those steps were friction to me actually going on and talking. And just today, I thought one thing that's friction for me is my clumsiness. Is I'm ready to do something, and what do I do? In fact, I don't see where it is now, or forgetfulness. So I have a wipe off marker that my daughter bought a wipe off board, and I thought and she had a duplicate. She bought two, and she said, "I just need one. Do you want to use one?" And I thought, sure. And I brought it in here and I thought, I'll write my notes for my podcast and just have it behind the computer and then I can just look at it, which is great. But right when I was ready to start recording, the lid fell out of my hand and it fell on the floor. And I thought, I can't find it. I can't find it. I can't find it. I kind of laughed because I thought that is definitely a piece of friction for a lot of women with ADHD is if you are doing something and you spill what you're drinking or you drop something on the floor and it breaks, whatever you're doing, you have to clean that up now. And you have to find whatever you dropped or lost, or you're just going to take your medicine and it falls on the floor, or you spill on yourself, or whatever it is. And all those things make it take so much longer. And the funny thing is, I finally got out of this chair because even getting into this chair is kind of tricky because I have myself so packed in here. But I thought, get out of the chair, find the lid, and then I thought, well, now that I've got the marker and the lid, I'll write some more notes, and I did, and now I don't know where the lid is, and I hate the idea of having to buy another marker if if it dries out. I don't have anything that'll keep it moist, I don't think, for an hour or however long I taught. But these things are things that are, I guess, what do you call it? Like, they're a means or a source, that's what I was looking for. They're a source of friction. And anything that you try to do that takes longer, sometimes it could just be part of your executive dysfunction of making a decision. So you decide, I'm going to wear a necklace today, but you don't know which necklace. So you go in and you decide to choose a necklace, but you're not quick about it. Which necklace should I wear? And so that is a source of friction because your ability to make a decision, especially when you're running late and you have a lot of ideas that pop up, that could be another source of friction is all your ideas of, yeah, I'll wear a necklace. Well, maybe I should change my earrings if I'm going to choose this necklace. And then sometimes I wake up and my fingers aren't quite as adept to doing the little thing and putting it on, or I put it on and it's backwards because I have a few necklaces that say Marma. That's what my grandchildren call me. And then I have it on the side that doesn't say Marma. And I think, oh, I have to turn it around. And, all of those things can stop us from being able to succeed with what we're doing. But if you think of other kinds of friction for, let's say, brushing your teeth, and you go to brush your teeth and you have to, let's say, have your toothbrush and your toothpaste are in a drawer. And you go and you open the drawer and you get out the toothpaste and you get out the toothbrush and then you turn on the water. So you think of all the things that happen. If you like having your counters clean, then that is a nice thing to have your toothbrush in a drawer. Or if you want it up on the counter, then that's less friction because you can just see it, grab it, put it back. And you don't open a drawer. You don't think, oh, this drawer is a mess. I should clean the drawer. Because sometimes our own brains get in the way and we get distracted just because something became a little more complicated. We're exposed to something else, a new environment, and that can make it take longer. So any kind of routine that you have or organization process, you want to organize a closet, but you go in there and everything that you want to deal with, you can't because your mind isn't set up like, what is my criteria today for getting rid of things? If you have that more defined, then you don't have that friction of making decisions, feeling like, well, I'm too attached, or trying it on to see if it fits, or all that kind of stuff when you haven't worn it in 2 years. Maybe you're curious, you can do that. It's your closet, right? But recognizing is, have I set this up so it has as little friction as possible? Did I bring in some containers? Did I bring in, I usually bring in some bags. They can be bags from the grocery store, especially paper bags. If they give you paper bags, that can be nice because they're just set up, or boxes that come in the mail. You just fill out the box and give them to the thrift store. Then you don't have to break down the box. You don't have to, you reduce friction in taking out the recycling or taking out the trash. And so having some kind of system of where you put your things when you're organizing, this is the trash and this is the giveaway and this is the, I don't know what else you do something, you're putting something up in the attic for some reason. If you have an attic, this is our first house with an attic. So it's kind of exciting to have an attic, but you're trying to reduce the friction. You're trying to reduce What is making it harder? If you think of going down a slide, and I used to play on slides a lot when I was little. We actually lived across the street from a school. It was called Bechtel Grove Elementary, which is a strange name. Bechtel was the last name, and it's Baechtel. It's like no one would ever know how to spell that if that wasn't your school, or if you didn't live in that family. But we lived across the street from the school, and so it was a nice playground for us that they didn't lock up schools and stuff like sometimes they do now with the fences and stuff. We could just go and play anytime, and they used to have slides that were really tall and just metal, and we would climb up really, really, really high on this metal slide, and it wasn't a swirly slide, or it wasn't purple or red or, like the pretty playgrounds now. It was just a metal slide that eventually I'm sure they thought somebody fell off this. This is too high. We shouldn't be doing this. But I found that if it was summertime, and it didn't get that hot where we lived, and there were a lot of oak trees and stuff around. So it wasn't like the slide was that hot that it would burn my legs. Like I remember taking my kids to the what do they call it? The playground at McDonald's or something. They have a name for it. Can't think of it. But anyway, sometimes there'd be caution signs like the slide is too hot. Don't use it because it was 105 degrees outside or something. We never had that problem. But the friction I would run into is if it was warmer outside, I'd be wearing shorts and my legs would kind of stick to the slide. So I'm not sliding down easily like I would if I were wearing sweatpants, although nobody wore sweatpants back then. I didn't even hear of sweatpants till I was a teenager. We didn't have leggings. We just had pants. But if I had pants on instead of shorts or a dress, we wore dresses a lot then too, then I could just slide right down. And if there's friction, if it's my leg sticking to the slide, I'm going to go, chit, 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 and I'd have to keep kind of pushing myself down the slide. Then you think of a water slide, there's no friction, right? They've made it so you're just woo, woo, going down the slide. And so thinking about whatever it is you need to do, sometimes you can reduce the friction and sometimes you can't. I was thinking about having enough energy to do something or having the health to be able to do something. If you're sick or you have a chronic illness or any kind of illness that's getting in the way of you being able to do something, that's a real source of friction. It's like, I want to do that, but I can't do that right now. It's not something you can just push through. Sometimes you have to be patient and wait for it. And sometimes the friction could just be in your mind. You have an idea in your mind of, I need to have this amount of time. I need to be super quiet. I need to have all these perfect conditions to be able to work on something. And that may be true. And sometimes you need to get something done regardless. So, how do you do that? How do you reduce the friction? Sometimes you have to reduce the friction in your mind. You have to tell yourself, no, it's okay if I just do part of it now and part of it later. It may not be as fun. I know I like to get into something and spend a lot of time with it. And lately I've been waking up in the morning before I go teach my yoga classes, and I'll have all this energy to get some things done on my computer that's very detail oriented, very hyper focused oriented. And I love doing that. And in my mind, I'm thinking, this is such a bummer that I need to stop in the middle of this because it's going to be harder to pick up this energy that I have right now. Energy can be different in the morning. For some, it's lower, some it's higher. But sometimes it's a bummer that you're not able to have this perfect, ideal amount of time to work on something. It might take several chunks. And I kind of look back to the days where I would get the kids to school. I mean, it's not like I should ever look back to a day of doing taxes as, oh, this is so fun. But our tax day, if you don't live in the US, is April 15th. And when I'd work on taxes, I'd get the kids to school, come back home, and just wear pajamas or whatever. Like I wouldn't even change. I'd just drop them off and come back and stay in my pajamas all day and just work on taxes. And it was kind of nice because I thought, you can't do anything but this. You have no choice. You have to do this. And I love just being able to have all that time for it. And I don't always have those big time frames of kids being at school like I did before. I have new things, that I'm committed to or that I'm doing or work that I'm doing. And yes, I had little kids at home, but I, took care of them in between. So, so yeah. So just thinking of identifying friction and how can you set yourself up for success? I call it streamlining your system. How can you take something that you always do and that's taking you too long to do, and maybe not even stopping you from doing it, but it's just making your system clunky. And so if you have to get certain things ready every single morning to get out the door, let's say you leave and you have to have a drink and a snack or a lunch or whatever. It could even be your kids' lunches. And if you have it down to a system, we get out their lunch boxes, or do they still call them lunch boxes? And we get out their water bottles and we fill, or the night before we fill all the water bottles, and the next day we you've already organized your pantry to where you can just bring the snacks or tell the kids, go in and buy, choose one kind of carby snack, one fruit item, and here I made some sandwiches, or here's some cheese, or whatever it is, and you have it down to a system. When you work with your kids that way, it's easy for them, especially if they're taking work away from you, that they just go. And I watched my daughter do this with her kids, and they just go and they know, okay, time to make lunches, and they grab their things. And you set yourself up for success so that that whole process isn't arduous. It's not like, "Oh, okay, what should we have?" And, like, where are the chips? Where are the crackers? Where are the cheese snack whatever you would call them, string cheeses, cheese snacks, and whatever it is, whatever your lunch is, and just knowing where that is and having some kind of idea in your mind and having it set up. Or if you're gonna have water bottles, do you refill them? Do you teach your kids to refill them all the time? Do you refill your own? Do you have wash them the night before? All of those things, and I know sometimes we think, "I can't do all this stuff. It's too much." But if you get in a system of, when I do the dishes, any water bottles that are out, I'm gonna just wash them by hand and put them over here on this towel, and that becomes your system. And it might be different for you. You might have a dish drainer. You might put your water bottles in the dishwasher. I just put my lids in there, and I have my own system. I like to even get a big towel instead of dish towels, because big towels, it's like, okay, we're serious about doing the dishes now. If I take a big towel from, like a clean one from the bathroom, put it out on the counter, and I have all that space to put my, I'm washing the bigger things that don't fit in the dishwasher. That's my system for doing that. And I'll do the dishes so much faster because I've set up that system, because I know where the towels are, all of that. If you don't have places for your things, it's harder. That's more friction when you aren't organized. I'm a little distracted. I see a cardinal out the window. When we lived in California, we didn't have cardinals. We had blue jays. We had woodpeckers. There's woodpeckers here. They're bigger. I'm in Florida now. But yeah, I heard there were cardinals here, which are a red bird, and I'd never seen a red bird in my life before. And my family would talk about, "Yeah, I saw a cardinal." I thought, "I still haven't seen a cardinal." And then one day, one of my kids said, "Oh, there's one, it's in the bush," but it was so fleeting. And the females aren't as bright red, but I'm seeing two right now out there in that bush, and I'm so excited. It's the little things, huh? It's the little things. But okay, what else can we do for our situation? So let's say you have a health concern or you've been injured. I'm just sighing really big on that one, because I mean, I've always gotten injured. I've always tripped and fallen, but I was one of those kids that never had a broken bone, that I just, like, you'd see other kids back in our day, they used to come to school, trying to turn my microphone because, another distraction for some reason. But anyway, um, kids used to come to school with a cast on their arm or leg, and everyone would sign it, and that was kind of cool. But it probably wasn't that cool to be injured. And I'm sorry, I keep moving my microphone. I should probably pause it, but I just see this silver thing in like the way in my mouth. Maybe I'll just sit up higher. Anyway, so my apologies if you're hearing clunk, clunk, clunk with the microphone. Now I raised it too high. Um, but yeah, so as an adult, I've had all kinds of broken, toe, foot, wrist. Um, it's super disruptive to life. And if you've had surgeries, super disruptive to life. And I say that like life is the important parts of life is when you're not injured and recovering from surgery. Those are important parts of life too. And they can have great meaning and teach us lots of things. And we can watch a lot of shows when that happens or read a lot of books. But if you have things that you want to accomplish in life and want to participate in and have goals, you might have to look at, is there a possibility to do this with this friction in my life? Without the ability to do this, are there people who can help me so I can still accomplish this? Can I set myself up to be able to get some things done without walking around with only one hand that's working until my wrist recovers? Whatever that is, you're recognizing that friction, you're recognizing that problem, and then trying to figure out how to work around it. And often people with ADHD can be really resourceful. It's kind of interesting because I was having, I would say a conversation, but it was a Threads conversation, if you've been on Threads, about masking that, because I see a lot of people talk about masking and how exhausting that can be, and how women aren't diagnosed or girls aren't diagnosed with ADHD when they're younger because they were so good at masking that no one knew they had ADHD. And I thought about it a lot, and I thought, I don't think I've done any masking. I mean, I probably have in some situations, but not growing up and in school. And so I was asking on Threads, like, tell me about this more. Like, am I getting it wrong? Because with time blindness, is that what it's called? Time blindness? I thought that I didn't have it when I first started learning about it with ADHD, and I actually do have it, but I just didn't realize, like, I wasn't aware. Okay, future Renee right here. I'm at the end of the podcast coming in to interject that I knocked over the webcam in the middle. And so I come back and tell you about that. What I didn't know is it also disconnected the microphone cable. And so it switched to my computer's microphone. So the audio won't be as great. You might have to turn it up. It might not sound as wonderful, but that's only on the video. So hopefully, I mean, I won't say this on the audio. But anyway, that's it. Okay, back to listening. And we're back. Oh my gosh. I just knocked my webcam over, and yeah, I don't know how that happened. But here I am again, my own self distracting myself and knocking things over. Welcome to my world. Yeah, I was just saying, I think what I was saying, because I haven't gone back to listen, is that time blindness, I didn't think I had it. But then I realized on a trip when I was going to Miami, when I went to Miami to go see Taylor Swift, but we didn't have Taylor Swift tickets and we never bought any because they were just outrageously expensive. So we just went and listened outside for a little bit and then went back and watched it on TikTok at the hotel because it was too discouraging outside the stadium. But anyway, I did see it in Tampa. If you haven't heard me talk about that, maybe I haven't, but I did see the Eras Tour in Tampa. So I'm glad somebody else got a seat that I didn't have. But I'm sad that anybody paid $2,000 for a last minute ticket because that's what they were going for. But anyway, okay, back to time blindness. Didn't think I had it. Realized on that trip I totally have it, and understood it better. So I wondered, is masking another thing that I don't understand well enough? And I actually do it all the time with ADHD, or did it growing up. But no, I don't think I did. And what masking is hiding. So you're putting on a mask, you're pretending like you're functioning the same as everyone else when you're really not. And I think for me, ADHD as a child didn't show up in the not being able to understand, not being able to make sense of things, executive dysfunction. I didn't see that as part of my childhood at all, or even teenagerness, more in college, definitely as I've gotten older and older. And the part that played strong for me as a child was the hyperactive part, what people used to call, well, I guess ADHD, and then they'd say ADD for the inattentive part. But yeah, the hyperactive part, that was me. I didn't hide it very well. I didn't hide it very well at all. I blurted out in classes. I raised my hand when you're supposed to put your hand back down. I did all these things, which now I realize, and I see it in my kids, my two boys especially, who had problems in school, but they're really, really smart. They had problems because it was hard for them to sit still. It was hard to that for them to just be there without either being so challenged intellectually, which I don't think that was my problem. I don't think I was like, oh, I need to be challenged more. But if they were super engaged learning something, they could sit still. But for me, I needed to get up. I needed to move. I needed to, you know, get up. Oh, I'll sharpen my pencil. We used to get up and sharpen our pencils, and then back then the pencil sharpeners were the use a handle, so you got to move doing that, or get up and get a drink of water. Can I get a drink of water? I don't think we had drinking fountains in our classrooms back then. We may have. It was yucky sink water. I mean, the other drinking fountain probably wasn't any better. But I remember in high school, my friend had a cold and she got up and she kept going in chemistry class. She kept standing up and walked to the Kleenex box or tissue and she'd blow her nose. And I thought, I don't even need to blow my nose, but I could go up and get tissue and I could walk. It wasn't consciously thinking, I need to move, I need to move, I need to move. But the idea of doing that was so appealing. Like I could get up and walk around if I just needed to grab Kleenex and I go do it and sometimes pretend to blow my nose. And then, of course, asking to go to the bathroom and stuff. You can only do that once a class, though. But it actually said, I don't know if I mentioned this before, it actually, my kindergarten teacher wrote that I asked to go to the bathroom an unusual amount of times. And it wasn't like I was drinking water all day. I just wanted to get up and walk outside. So I wasn't masking at all. I wasn't hiding the fact that I needed to sit still. And maybe that's a harder one to mask. I mean, you think of kids who are, like tapping their pencil and the teacher says, "Stop tapping your pencil," because you have this energy. And you see it a lot with people moving their hands or moving their knees or their feet or whatever. And that's why I knocked over my webcam because I was trying to adjust how I was sitting. But when you can't sit still, I have such a hard time on Zoom calls. And recording video for my podcast is not quite up there with Zoom calls. Zoom calls, you have to sit so still, I think. Maybe you don't have to sit totally still, but I want to change how I'm sitting constantly. Like I want to sit taller. I want to lay down. I want to be on my knees. I want to do all this stuff. And when you're on a Zoom call, you don't want to be a distraction. And it's nice when you just turn off your camera, but sometimes you're not supposed to have your camera off. So yeah. So what's my point? Is there's masking and then there's developing coping skills, like getting creative, finding a resolution, finding like, if I need to move, what can I do? And my son told me this. My son told me once when he was sitting in our kitchen, he was kicking the counter while he was sitting on the stool. He was like, kick, 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 kick. And then you have all these marks on your counter and stuff. So I told him, stop kicking the counter. And he was only in first grade, but he was so aware of what he needed to do that he said, I have to kick the counter. I had to learn to kick because, well, he didn't have to kick the counter, but he said he was used to doing that with his feet because in school the teacher would get mad at him for tapping the desk or the table. So if he moved his feet, the feet were in the air at school. At home, they were kicking the counter, but or cupboard or whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about. I hope. But yeah, he came up with that. So he came up with, well, and I doubt as a first grader he was like, what can I do if I can't move my hands? But he probably tried to keep his hands still. And what happens? Then your feet start moving. Because if you have the hyperactive part of ADHD, two things happen. One is you have all this energy built up in your body. And if you don't act on it, that energy starts to well up and well up and well up. That's how I explain it. And this is not from any ADHD website or doctor. This is just lived it, lived it. And watching kids, so like they're sitting there and you can just see them. You can just see their energy. Sometimes like the movement, you're swaying or whatever. And I do that too. Um, Even standing in line. Do you stand in line still, like everyone else at the bank? I noticed one day I wasn't. I was the only one in line at the bank, and I'm in my 50s at the time. It's not like I'm like 7 or something. And I'm moving back and forth. I'm moving back and forth. I'm swaying. I'm kind of like I'm dancing or not really dancing. Or when I'm in line, I do a lot of yoga poses that you can kind of do without people noticing. Because I feel really antsy in my body, so I'll hold on to the shopping cart and bring one foot up in the back. I call it flamingo, where you're stretching your quadriceps and doing that, and you can bring your arm up, but maybe not at TJ Maxx. But I can do stuff like that while standing still. They actually make it really nice at those kind of stores now because they give you so much stuff to look at. Well, that's the way I look at it. They're trying to get you to buy more, but it gives you a lot of things to look at. So it keeps you busy while you're in line. You don't go as crazy in line because hopefully you're moving. If you're not moving, that's when I go crazier. But you have things to look at and you can pick it up and you can look at it and you can put it back and all that. And it gives you a little bit of time to do that. So, yeah, with friction, back to friction, you can see what is getting in the way. What is making this process slower? Just think about your normal morning routine. Do you even have a normal morning routine? Is Monday the same as Tuesday? Tuesday the same as Wednesday? Often we think of weekdays as being the same, but maybe they're not. And if they're not, can we make them the same? It's one of the courses that I want to make is on morning routines. Because I think refining, fine tuning, streamlining your morning routine can make such a difference in your day. I look at the times of my life where every morning was predictable and I created a system and I woke up and I did it. I was like, I was some little robot that woke up and thought, and now I do this, and now I do that, and now I do this. And my brain didn't have to think about it that much. I even made it when I was back doing exercise videos and stuff. We actually had VHS. Those of you who are younger, you probably know what it is. I mean, most adults remember a DHS, a VHS, a video that went into a VCR. And sometimes I would mix and match workouts. So I knew before I went to bed what workout I was doing the next morning. Every Sunday night, I would sit down with my notebook and plan out my workout schedule, what I call a rotation of rotating my workouts that were videos. And those of you who did exercise videos know what I'm talking about because it was a common vernacular back then is like what's your rotation, what are you going to do? And sometimes they were set by the instructor, not as commonly back then, but Beachbody used to do it like here's a 90-day rotation or 6-week rotation. So I usually did 4 or 6 weeks, but I did a 90-day rotation with the Firm. Do any of you remember the Firm? They were some women from South Carolina, Charleston, and Anna and what's her Cynthia Benson sisters. One was the business mind, one was the fitness mind. And Anna Benson, I think she can have the credit for bringing weight workouts to women. She was, I mean, oh, what's her name? Jane Fonda. She had her workouts and she really brought strength training, but not really, like she gave the idea that women can work their muscles and get stronger, but I don't really remember weights being a huge part of it. There was a lot of cardio. But there had to have been like body weight strength or something because she was in her 40s, which I was young back then. So she was older to me back then. I guess she still is, um, but she was in On Golden Pond. And I don't know if you know that movie. If you haven't seen that movie On Golden Pond, it won Academy Awards. They just had the Academy Awards the other night. It won a whole bunch of Academy Awards. Her dad, Henry Fonda, won Best Actor, and he was so good. And Katharine Hepburn, so good. Um, Yeah, it was really good. It was them going on a lake on Golden Pond. And there was a scene where Jane Fonda jumps off of the dock into the water and she doesn't want to do it. And it's kind of showing all the friction in her relationship with her dad and him telling her to do it. And, when she was younger and she was supposed to dive off and everything. But the big thing for women then was because fitness was popular. This is when health clubs and stuff, who knew that you're getting a health club and fitness history here, and just off the top of my head. But they this was when people were starting to work out and do aerobics in the 80s and everything. And when she dove off of that dock, when she wore her bikini in her 40s, women did not look like that in their 40s. And I mean, I still never did, but I was way more muscly. Like my muscle tone. Some people are just really thin. She's a lot thinner and she was strong. But it was like, how does a woman in her 40s have a body like that? Well, she's not just doing cardio and running and stuff. She's doing things that are making her stronger. And when the firm came out, Anna Benson was all about weights are important for women. And I'm sure she wasn't the only person who did it. But as far as I know, in the early 90s, she was the first person I ever heard of that was saying, here are these workouts and you can look like this if you do them. And I remember totally, one, believing her and seeing all these women from South Carolina, and I was in California most of my life till a few years ago. But I would watch them and I'm just like, wow, they're so lovely, they're so graceful, and they're strong, and they have strong legs, and they're lifting weights that are heavier than mine. I started out, they used to say things like, you can use a soup can. Like, it's not even a whole pan. But like, I literally did that. I went and got Campbell's soup and like lifted those. This is like in 94-ish, 93, 94. It was actually before I heard of the firm. But it was like you could only do light weights. And then yeah, anyway, it was mind blowing. That you could lift heavy, you could do these lunges and tall box climbs, they were glute lifts and all this stuff. And I would look at these women and I think I could really look like them. Like I could be that strong and tiny and voluptuous. I didn't know a lot of them had breast surgery. It's just like had no idea. But anyway, I did the firm workouts for many, many years and just kept buying them until after Anna sold the company. And then the workouts were owned by, I think, Gaia. I don't know, one of the fitness video companies. After she sold it and stuff, I didn't love the workouts as much, but I mean, the instructors, a lot of them were the same. I still love them. And I still have a lot of the workouts. But that was a time in my life when I had a schedule set for the whole week. I had a lot of kids. At some point, I had six. My last baby was born in 2002. So I'd been doing the workouts with a variety, a number of kids, not always six. But I set my morning to be a certain way. And even if I had a new baby, I mean, I couldn't work out for 6 weeks. I never had a C-section. So I got to get back to working out at 6 weeks. And I looked forward to that day. And I was usually surprised that I couldn't do nearly as much as I thought I could, because often I would work out until the day the baby was born. But even to the point of my water breaking from it. I mean, I wasn't like crazy workout person, um, but I was consistent. And now I look at my life, and sometimes life takes a turn. Sometimes something happens. And if you look for that shift, what is that shift? What is that friction in your life? What is it that got you off course, if you ever were on course? If you were on course, what got you off course? Do you want it to be how it once was? Sometimes, like a health concern, it cannot be the same. And I'm finding that in Florida, I cannot work out for as long as I did before we moved. And there's a couple different reasons for that, humidity and health things. I can't do it without it making me super fatigued afterwards. And so I had to think, okay, what can I do to prevent that? Do I have shorter workouts? Do I take a post workout supplement, powder, something? You play with the things until you get your new system to work. And whatever you're doing, whatever changes you're making. Now, how do you adjust your morning routine? If you're working out, is it your first thing in the morning thing? For a lot of people, it is. For some people, it's just not. Like, how could you do that? How can you do that with little kids at home? Can you get up and work out first thing? For me, it worked out because I got up before they did, but I like getting up early in the morning. Maybe not everybody does. And I say that now when I stay up later and I don't. I still get up early, but not to work out. Oh, I should. See, here's my thing. I want my morning routine to resemble more what my old morning routine was. And it might not be exactly the same because I wasn't teaching yoga back then. I wasn't having these morning classes I had to go to, and things shift. And yeah, weekends can be different, vacations can be different, but can you get your Monday through Friday to be the same? And if not, what can you change to make that happen? And then how can you make it as easy as possible for that morning routine to go super smoothly? Think of anything that would slow you down, any of that friction, any of those legs on the slide going down. What can you do to make it so you're just like a water slide, not the summer legs on the slide? And any prep that you can do the night before is one. Setting out your clothes, preparing your lunch, your water, your drinks, whatever, especially if you want to be on time, if you need to leave the house. All of that nighttime prep. And if you think, but I don't want to do the nighttime prep, I want to watch TV. Watch TV on your computer, on your phone, with headphones on while you're doing the prep. You can still enjoy it. It might not be as big. Maybe your TV's in your room where your kitchen is. But I have to bring a laptop around or my phone. And a lot of times I don't even care if I see it. I could just want to listen to my friends talk to me. That's what my TV shows are, is my friends talking to me. My life, huh? But whatever it is for you that helps you get it done. And set yourself up for success the next day. One of my friends is getting ready to do a Disney trip, Disney World, with grandchildren and a niece whose mom passed away. My friend's sister passed away. So the niece is like a daughter to her, and her children too, and her husband. So my friend, and this is maybe 3, 4 weeks away from the Disney trip. And she was showing me, and she has ADHD too. I don't know if she's ever listened to my podcast. I should talk to her, tell her, hey, I talked about you. And she's in North Carolina, not South. But she's been really organizing everything. She is doing all the prep work instead of waking up right before the trip and saying, hey, should we match? People plan things like that out, like let's order shirts or let's go to Hobby Lobby and make Disney shirts. And she has each family, like what they're going to wear each day. And she's treating them all to it. She's buying their outfits, their shirts, their ears, Disney ears, and all this stuff. And I think about it with me here because I'm closer to Disney World. I'm 2 hours. That mine's more of a night before thing. Maybe when we used to go to Disneyland and we lived 12 hours away or 5 hours away, I did more planning, like what should I wear? Like, do I have a Spirit jersey? What's the weather going to be? You plan out all that stuff. So the travel, the trip happens the way that you want. And now, since we don't live that far, sometimes I'll book a hotel. Do I have enough points? I'll get a hotel so we can stay later, not drive back 2 hours and be so tired when there might be a rainstorm or something on the road. You learn from experience. But my main thing I do the night before, because I know in the morning when we get up and go, and I'm not a rope drop person anymore. If you're familiar with rope drop, it's like getting there like super early. So when the rope drops, when the park opens, you can run to the rides that don't have, like you can choose a ride and it doesn't have a line. And I used to do that at Disneyland when we stayed in a hotel nearby, but now I'm just like, I get there when I get there and I stay later. But I think that's part of when you live close enough and you have an annual pass, there's no pressure to go for as long. And so that's nice. But the thing that matters to me is hydration. I get so dehydrated so easily. I need to drink water constantly. And in the ADHD part of me, I don't want to wait in line and walk up to, even to a counter thing. I don't want to wait behind 3 people to get water. I want to just reach in my bag and get it. And that's more important to me than having a bag that's heavy. When we have grandchildren come with us, we have strollers, but they haven't had annual passes for a while. I even took a stroller without a child in it after they after they didn't have their pass. And I know that might be annoying to people, but I usually go when it's not very crowded. But I pushed around a stroller with no one in it just to have all my water bottles and my bags. But I've learned to just, like drink one water bottle between the car and the tram. And like I go through this water like crazy. I put hydration powders in it and then I just throw them in recycling, and save all the bottles. Like if my kids have Gatorade or some smoothie or something and throw it away, I'm like, no, 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 no. And I take it out of the trash. I don't tell them that. I just do it on my own and wash it. But yeah, that's my prep work. That's my preparing my next morning to go well so that when it's time to leave and my brain is wired in a different way. It's trying to think, okay, did I forget anything? When you're trying to think of that, you can't do the other things. You can't do I have all my water bottles? Do I have my snacks? Do I have band-aids? All the things that you might want so you're comfortable. And when you're going somewhere every morning, what can you do to make that morning go better? You keep your car filled up. You don't go, oh no, I'm low on gas. Now I'm going to be late. And actually, that was one of the ADHD conversations on threads. I call them conversations. I guess they are where people just talk about ADHD matters and running out of gas or not running out of gas or just being low on gas and then having it, like make you late or something. And somebody said, I just do the habit stacking. The habit stacking is when you do this thing every night when I brush my teeth, because I know I'll brush my teeth, then I don't know what your next thing would do, floss your teeth. I don't like flossing, but whenever I brush, I'll floss, but it's something that's not as related. Like after I brush my teeth, then I'll plug my phone in the charger or whatever. It's something that's not as related, but you always do them in that order and your brain gets used to that. And so that's what they were saying with getting gas is you get gas once a week on this certain day. Like if you don't think you need it more than that, no matter what. And I thought, oh, that's a good idea. There's the rebellious part of me that always wants to like not doing it if I don't have to, but I thought that's what you need to do. And I did yesterday. It felt really good. It felt really good. So anyway, I think that'll be it for today. I haven't been making hour-long recordings in a long time. I don't know. I could go back and look. Maybe it hasn't been that long. But this one is what it is. It is what it is. Where's the friction in your system, in your ability to get something done? If something's weighing on your mind, and it either goes one way or the other. Maybe there's a third way or fourth, but one is your ability to actually do it in a in a in a timely way. What's making this take longer? What's making you be late? What's getting in the way of your time management? It's taking way too long to get ready in the morning. What can I do? What's restricting this? Going and getting the flat iron and taking it out of this and plugging it in. Some people just leave it on the counter. Just plug it in, turn it off, turn it off. And I'm more of a clean counter person, but there are benefits. I bought some of those hanging baskets and I now put my flat iron in the bottom hanging basket, but I had to put one of those silicone things in it so it wouldn't, like if it's hot, it doesn't burn my basket. Oh my gosh, we create a lot of work for ourselves in doing this, but at the same time, it just makes it so much easier to get it done and to do it and to do it and do it. Um, I just say one more thing that's kind of fun, and I don't know if it's related to friction or not, but sometimes when you can't, it's more like overwhelm or not being able to get yourself to do something just, and that could be friction too, but just with your own self, like I can't get myself to do this. I want to do this, but I can't right now because I should do this instead. And it makes me laugh sometimes, and I know I'm not alone in this, is often when we have ADHD, we do the things that just not only are easier on our brains, but for some reason have some kind of novelty, or you just have an impulse and you just start working on it. And there are so many times that I'm doing something that I'm just like,
oh my goodness, Renee, what are you doing? Like, you're doing something that's so not important, like cutting plastic. Why was I cutting plastic the other day? Oh, I was watering plants, which sometimes that's soothing just to water plants. And then I decided, it's important that I don't think this plant looks good in this pot. I'm going to put, or it's not growing as well. I'm going to put it in a smaller pot, but I still want it in that white container. So I'll put it in a smaller pot and then I'll find something to go under that pot that makes it taller so it still fits in the first container. So do you follow me with that? So you've got this white container. I want the plant in a white container because it looks better in a white container. But I've just repotted into that. It's not growing very well because it has too much space. That's my theory anyway. So I put it in a smaller pot, but then if I put it in that same container, it's going to go down so low, it needs to be up about 3 inches. So I'll find a box or something plasticky to put in the bottom of that white container so that the new hidden container is up higher and it appears to be a plant in the other thing. So this is my big idea a couple of days ago that kept me from doing who knows what else that was way more important. So then what do I use? So I go around looking for something to be on. I probably have little boxes, but no. I decided to take a water bottle, and it was actually a coconut water bottle because it was strong, and cut it and cut the top and the bottom and try to make them the same size. But then there's like, no, that's too tall. No, that's too short. So I'm sitting here. I love scissor crafts for some reason. Using scissors is soothing. And I'm doing this and I'm thinking, what is this keeping you from doing? That you're having so much fun with it. And that's good to have fun, but like, does this matter to anybody else in the world but me? No. Is there something I'd be happier with myself overall if I was doing? Yes, but here I am doing this. And so sometimes we don't do the things that we want to work on because, or that are the most important to do right then, because something else calls to us more. And we think, no, I'd rather do that. And it's this point of avoidance, like I want to avoid the thing that matters more by doing this that doesn't matter at all. And so today I think I tricked myself into coming in and recording the podcast because I've been wanting to do it. And yesterday I thought, I think my voice is probably doing well enough to do it. And I was finally getting my energy back yesterday. But I just kept doing other things and kept doing other things. I had to take a bunch of stuff to the thrift store. I mean, like a lot of stuff. And then I go to TJ Maxx and walk around like a zombie for like, I think I was there for an hour and a half when I could have been in and out in 15 minutes. But I just thought, what are you doing? We have visitors coming tonight. You have things to do. And I was maybe even going to make the podcast last night. Anyway, so my avoidance was happening right then, right? But today I come home from teaching yoga and I think, okay, you need to get things ready for your friends who are coming to stay the night. And, like there's probably more cleaning to be doing and everything. And I thought that you need to work on your podcast. So I came in here and recorded it. And I was laughing to myself because my avoiding the other thing got me to do this. So they're both important, but maybe them having new pillowcases and sheets might be a bigger priority. But that's okay. There's time. They're not coming in until midnight. And it's only two o'clock now. So I just like that I was able to kind of trick myself into doing something important like this by avoiding something else that was like on my list of now this is the thing I want to avoid. And it wasn't like I was super trying to avoid the podcast yesterday. I just knew I was like, you need to catch up on folding clothes and everything. And I did. I was folding clothes or, folding and putting away till past midnight last night. I did it. I did it. But that's it for now. Now I am touching closer to an hour. And I should put on my glasses, see if there's anything else I need to see. I can't remember which glasses I had on when I started. I have multiples. But yeah, I think that's it for now. My apologies for writing a song to see if you'll subscribe and share my podcast with someone else. I mean, not apologies. I'm glad I did it, but it's still not what I want it to be. So if you hear it change a few more times, it might change until I get it right. But that's how I learn is to continue doing something until I land on something better. But I have to tell you, the other night, last Wednesday, we were watching Survivor. I don't know if any of you are watching Survivor 50. And we're watching it, and we watch it from a laptop that projects onto a big projector, and we all watch it together. My older kids, my kids are all adults. They come over and we watch it. So we're watching it. And then during the commercial, we hear this, or it was kind of the end, like it was going to go to commercial. And we hear this sound like it's like a funeral song, like it's like it's going to be on Traders or something. I don't know if you've seen Traders. And we're like, what is that? What is that? And I thought, do they have some track that's playing here on Survivor? It was me singing. It was me singing my song about sharing my podcast and stuff because it just picked up with Apple Music and started playing at the same time as Survivor. And my kids were like, what is that? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me. That's me with my song I wrote. And which made me think I should probably change it, but I don't think I have time to change it today. If I have an idea, I might. But I think I'm just going to publish this so you get it today on Tuesday. And thank you so much for listening. Even when I was sick the last 2 weeks, I saw that people were still downloading my episodes, and I was still getting new listens and stuff, which means people are going back and finding older episodes. And granted, I do have a lot. Who knows what I talked about? But I'm so grateful for you. I'm glad that you're uh, listening, that you're out there. I have been, here, I'm getting closer to the hour again. I have been lining up guests to be on my podcast. And by lining them up, I mean I have over 30 who are interested, and I've been organizing all their information, and I'm going to reach out. But I'm going to have some guests on the podcast to talk about ADHD and how it affects their lives, and all of these women have ADHD, and some of them have expertise in it, but experience it as well. And so I'm excited for that, to bring that to you, and I'll come on them by myself for sure as well. And maybe I'll get my song a little better. Not so haunted sounding. I just changed it from what I initially had because it wasn't in the same key as a song that my son and daughter sing that I play at the end. And I wanted it to be in the same key. But I went and got on the piano, and I couldn't do the same tune because I think one was a minor and one wasn't. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've taken piano lessons. But anyway, okay, I really am going to let you go. It's getting closer to an hour. Thank you for listening. Be patient with my song till it becomes better. And oh, and I updated my website. I've been playing with it for a very long time, like since December, trying to change it to be green. And it may not matter to you, but it's looking a little better. And I'm trying to make it so when you click on something, you can actually get what I say you can get. I think it's working, but I mean, don't quote me on it, but I'm going to keep trying. So my whole point is if it doesn't work, just know it's in construction. I'm still working on it, but at least I had the courage to change it from pink to green because I've had the green one building for a while, but I didn't switch the domain so you could actually see what was going on. But that's it for now. And my website is renee-allen.com if you want to find me on Threads. I changed my Threads and Instagram name. It used to be the name of the podcast, Inspiring Women with ADHD, and now it's Renee Allen, no dash. The dash is only for the website because I couldn't get it without a dash when I bought the domain. But my Instagram is reneeallen.adhd. There's not very much there, but I'm learning. I'm learning. Okay. And and same with Threads, reneeallen.adhd. If you're on Threads and you did apply to be on my podcast, I am so excited to talk to you. I'm like, my heart is filled with so much joy just reading what each person wrote. And I'm feeling a connection, and I'm excited to meet you. But just be patient with me. I've been sick, and I'm finally making my way through that. Thanks so much.
Help other women find the show. Rate, review, share with someone you know. Help other women find my show. Rate, review, share with someone you know. Hurry before you forget.